Welcome to Heart. I'm your host, Dana Andrews, and this is where we merge the worlds of hip hop and art. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Affion Crocket. Now, this is not gonna be an easy interview. I'm gonna hit you right now. Rapid fire questions coming
You
at
said
you.
that like I ain't did interviews before.
I know you're seasoned, you're a seasoned vet.
Let's go.
All right, give me your top 3 comedians, in your opinion, of course, of all time, in your opinion.
Of all time, my favorite is Eddie Murphy. He's just very well-rounded. Although Richard Pryor was his GOAT and the guy that he learned from. I grew up in the era of Eddie, so I wasn't even familiar. I was too young. I knew about Richard, but I didn't really know. So what my first template of a comedian was Eddie, for my age range. But versatility, like he's got 7 classic movies, like movies that we still talk about to this day, that you go and rewind and play 50 times. George Carlin is one of my favorite comedians.
Interesting.
George was one of those.
He's very controversial.
Very controversial, but not necessarily. I mean, he was controversial to people who don't like the truth. But George Carlin was very. I'm gonna give you this truth to your fucking face, and I'm not gonna bite my tongue about it. He was woke before woke was a term.
Right. To where if you were politically correct, you probably couldn't sit through a whole George Carlin show because he's gonna say some shit to ruffle your feathers.
No, you can't. You gotta look in the mirror. And then Chris Rock is another one of my all-time favorites.
Legend.
Yeah. So, and it's funny how all of them are kind of tied in. Eddie Murphy discovered Chris and introduced him to the world, and George Carlin is one of Chris Rock's biggest influences.
Wow.
So, you know.
See, that's probably a little
those are
known
my
fact.
top 3.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off. But that's probably a little known fact. I didn't know that Eddie Murphy introduced Chris Rock.
Yeah, he introduced Chris Rock on. I want to say it was called the Young Comedians Special. I think it was Chris Rock, Barry Sobel. I want to say Arsenio was on that too, early Arsenio.
Wow.
But yeah, this was in the '80s.
Wow.
Yeah. Eddie discovered Chris.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty diverse and eclectic group. And
Which says a lot about who Eddie Murphy is. Now let me paint this picture for you, okay? Name a big comedian that has collaborated with other big comedians or put other comedians on, like in a real way. Name one that has done a Harlem Nights where he's got GOATs, Red Fox and Richard Pryor, himself, Robin Harris, Charlie Murphy, Della Reese. I mean, she's not a comedian, but
kind of doing the whole Wayans thing before the Wayans, kind of putting on Black Hollywood before it was.
to a degree. I mean, for sure. I mean, the Wayans have created legends even within the family. But what I'm saying is a single black comedian. I mean, because even the Wayans were put on by Eddie. Keenan was co-writer on Raw on the opening sketch, but he did some work. Him and Robert Townsend did work with.
I was just about to say that. I know you was trying to stump me, and that's the name I was going to throw out. Robert Townsend, Hollywood Shuffle.
Right.
5 Heartbeats. He was kind of putting out people, putting out his homies. I would liken him to Adam Sandler. You kind of see the same homies in the movies.
Absolutely. No, he definitely did that with actors. But my point is, Eddie is one of the few comedians. I think he's the only comedian that has really collaborated with other big names. Life was him and Martin.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Big name comedians.
Yeah.
He had him, Martin, Bernie Mac, Guy Torrey in Life. Boomerang. He's got Martin again. He's got Chris Rock in there. He's got David Allen Greer.
I would say you got to be pretty confident to have that much
That's
talent
my point.
surrounding you.
He's such a GOAT. He's not threatened by having other GOATs on screen with him.
Wow.
So that's why Eddie is always going to be the GOAT to me.
Wow. Now follow that up with top 3 stand-up specials. You gave me your top 3 comedians. Give me the top 3 stand-up specials, in your opinion, of course.
It's hard to say because there's just so many stand-up specials. I don't have a top 3. I mean, again, going with Eddie, Delirious and Raw, you know, are like Delirious was him showing off his characters and energy and you know, use of stage And it was him actually being one of the first rock star comedians, right? Raw, this nigga was teaching. If you really watch Raw, Eddie was teaching. He was teaching about relationships,
Wow.
society. Like he was really putting us up on game. A lot of shit that we are experiencing right now in social media, Instagram, like watch Raw again.
Way ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time.
What do you think about, and I mean, my furthest, I mean, I'm 34 years old, but my first, I would say, introduction to a blockbuster stand-up for my generation would be Chris Rock, Bring the Pain. I could never forget, that's a classic, man.
Absolutely. Again,
The content, everything, man.
But Chris is one of my favorites. That's why I say I can't pick a top 3 specials because there's so many of them. I love all of Chris's specials. That dude he's fucking brilliant, man. He's one of those guys that I'll watch him, I'll be like, how the fuck does he come up with this shit?
Right. Kind of like we look at you, like a comedic genius.
I appreciate it. Look, to be mentioned in any type of way to any of my heroes, that's great. I don't feel like I've put in the work to get there yet, but I'm not gonna take
I beg
your
to
opinion
differ.
away from you.
And before we end this segment, I beg to differ because as we continue this interview, man, we're gonna go over that extensive body of work and catalog you have, and I might change your mind and have you looking at yourself in a different
It's not
light.
that I'm downplaying myself. What I'm saying is I feel like I have more to do, and I'm still hungry.
That's right.
But yeah, as far as stand-up specials, I got to mention Damon Wayans. Damon Wayans is one of the most underrated and not often mentioned, but he's one of the greatest.
Slept on.
Damon Wayans, that motherfucker he's one of the GOATs, yo. You got to really go back. I want to say his The Last Stand, I think was the name of his one of his last specials, or his last special. But yeah, you gotta.
No, yeah, he's one of the GOATs. I can remember as a youngster watching that episode when he left in Living Color. They made it a big deal. Remember, he got in the limousine. It was all sad, and it was like a real somber moment. But yeah, definitely a GOAT, man. So thank you, man. We're going to get into a few more questions. That was just the open segment. We're going to talk about you. Thank you. Welcome back to Heart. Again, I'm your host, Dana Andrews. Thank you for joining us today. We have our special guest, the very talented Mr. Affion Crocket. Now, we kind of went in, we talked about some other comedians and some of your idols, not idols, some of the guys you may have looked up to in the game coming up. But, I mean, in my opinion, man, you are so underrated, man. You like our generation's modern day Sammy Davis Jr. I mean, you rap, you dance, you do sketch comedy, impersonations, you act. I mean, damn, man, you got more jobs than a Jamaican. I mean, what don't you do? How did you get into the game? How did you get your first big start? How did you even get into the entertainment industry?
Def Comedy Jam was my first major start, and I got to salute Bob Sumner. He's the talent scout that found everybody on Def Comedy Jam. Everybody. He hired everybody. You name them. Chris Tucker, Bill Bellamy. I mean, I'm sure he had a hand in having Martin host, but Martin was already on fire. But yeah, all the comedians that came through, Bernie Mac, Bob went around to every club throughout the duration of that show, and he discovered everybody. Cheryl Underwood, Adele Givens, that was all Bob Sumner.
Oh, wow.
So
he's like a comedic A&R associate.
That's him. He's the guy.
Now, I don't want to, I mean, we know you're an accomplished actor and comedian. I don't want to glaze over the fact, because again, I teach financial literacy. You actually have a business degree from the University of Fayetteville.
Fayetteville State University, yeah.
Touching that a little bit?
Yeah, I knew I was going into the entertainment industry. I didn't know how I was gonna make it work. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? I didn't have no guarantees, but in my mind and in my spiritual resonance, my spiritual grounding, I said I need to speak what I want and let my words manifest. So I spoke it. I said I'm going into the entertainment industry. So I took business because I knew it was going to be about more business than show. They say the word business is longer than the word show. So I knew I was going to go into the entertainment or show business, and I wanted to be able to have the proper conversations with my lawyers and managers and agents once I got here. Again, I didn't know anybody at the time, but I knew that it was something that I was going to set myself up for the success of my business.
Do you have an entrepreneurial background? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Where did you get this entrepreneurial spirit to even dive into business?
You know what? Honestly, my parents were the opposite of entrepreneurs. My parents were working class people. My dad is a military guy, and he's known, he knows structure and benefits and, all of that and working check to check. But from that, I did the opposite. I did the opposite of what my parents did. Not that they did anything bad, because they provided for us. But I always noticed that, we were always in debt, always, just never really having money. So I said, I want to always have money. So how do I get to the money? So I just started studying things. Like, there's some hands-on things that you can pay attention to. You look at, take a corner store or a grocery store. The only thing a grocery store is somebody who either rented or bought a building and opened up and bought products, probably wholesale mostly. They bought products wholesale. So let's say $2 an item, right? You buy all these products for wholesale, $2 an item. You mark it up, and then you sell those products. You go get a business license, you go get a sales permit, and that's a store.
Right, buy for $1, sell for $2.
Exactly.
So that kind of leads into the segue of my next question. Growing up in the Ville, shout out to Fayetteville. Were there many opportunities in Fayetteville other than the military? What are some of the opportunities there?
Unfortunately, no. There's not a lot of creative opportunities. You know what I mean? When I was coming up in the Ville, it was a lot of, crime and dudes be bored and they get into bullshit. So it was a lot of that to see. But, and shout out to J. Cole. He's come after me, but he's taken it to a level that, a true king of the city could take it to. But before it was him, it was me. And I didn't have an example from Fayetteville of who made it out and who. So I was just blazing a trail that I didn't even realize I was blazing. Made it to the Apollo and did amateur nights. So that was like, some citywide notoriety. I mean, of course, Apollo played everywhere, but in my city, I was looked at as a hero, me and my boys.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. Was there ever an aha moment or an epiphany to where you were like, you know what, man, I can make money at this. I'm kind of talented, within the city. When did you realize that you can really do something with this?
The Apollo was a big aha moment. And then within the city, even before and after the Apollo, me and my boys, we would open up the concerts. So anytime, like say Staples Center, anytime a concert would come through Fayetteville, me and my boys was the opening act. So I met everybody, Latifah, EPMD, Redman, K-Solo, Naughty by Nature, Nice and Smooth, like all these different groups back in the 90s, we were opening up for them. And that right there told me, all right, they're making money. I don't know how much, but I can perform and make money. So let me figure this out. But then when I made the decision to go from dance to comedy, which was really within a 2-year span. Wow. So I did Apollo in 92, and I did my first Def Jam audition in 94.
Not to cut you off, hold that thought. I got a dope Apollo story, and it ties in with hip hop. I used to ghostwrite for Dr. Dre's son, Curtis, and we were in Apollo for DJ Justo. He was having like a mixtape award show. And one of my favorite rappers is Talib Kweli.
That's my brother.
Yeah, I always wanted to meet Kweli. So I'm downstairs. This is the one, and Kweli talked about it on the Eardrum album because I guess Jimmy Henchman and people got into a fight at the mixtape award. So I'm there, and I go downstairs to use the restroom at the Apollo, like in the lobby, because you got to go downstairs. I come back up, and Kweli's standing right there, man. I'm like, whoa, like I'm like,
BKMC.
Yeah, and I approached him, and he probably won't remember. And I was like, "What's up, man?" I was like, "Man, yo, like I really look up to you." I'm like, "Yo, I'm from California. I'm from the West Coast, and usually dudes out here don't really bump Kweli. They wasn't, he's more conscious. They ain't on that tip." And I just was like, dapped him up, and I was like, "You got love for the West Coast?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got love for the West Coast." I was like, "Man, I love you, brother," and kind of kept it moving. But that was like a highlight as a little jit. One of the things I'll never forget, man. And that was just my little Apollo story, but. And that kind of leads me into a lot of brothers and a lot of people get the misconception and think you a new school, a new booty in the game, man. Like you just got in on Wildin' Out and you've been down and been doing your thing. Like you said, 92, you was on Apollo making moves already.
Yeah, the thing that's a blessing about that though is I'm always reinventing myself. I always have the opportunity to be discovered by a fresh audience. And as long as you have that mentality and that knowledge, that's power. You know that you can sell. It's like, again, the grocery store mentality. If you know that you're gonna always have a new audience, you're gonna always be open for business. You're gonna always be getting new dollars in. You know, you're gonna have your core, the people that have been supporting your establishment, and you get new customers. That's worth more than anything.
But it's kind of like even when you're teaching the financial literacy and find that in, most people think if Walmart shut down, they're gonna go hungry and die of starvation. They don't believe that they can create a dollar or go in the backyard and plant some tomatoes and create food. That way they don't go hungry. Or in your case, use your God-given talent to create a dollar and make it out of a town that's where the odds are against you. And I find that fascinating personally.
Yeah. Well, at the same token, we're in a generation where hard work is becoming a thing of the past. It's like a myth.
Wow.
So what people don't see, like they'll see me sitting here with you, right? And like you said, you've acknowledged that I have a body of work or whatever, right? There's some people who will sit around and, they'll say whatever. Oh, that nigga ain't funny, or whatever. Oh, he's dope, or he's whatever. They have their opinion, but they have no idea how I got to sit in this chair.
Which is why
They don't, yeah, but they don't understand how many hours I spent in my parents' living room working out my first stand-up before I ever hit one stage. Like, I used to just be in the room with a mic stand, empty mic stand, but just walking around pacing while everyone else in the house was asleep. And I'd just be pacing, visualizing that I was on stage already and working out my material and working out every angle and all that. And then I would drive hours at a time to go to club to club. And then I drove across country from North Carolina to LA. And like, I've put in my work. It's hard work. It ain't, if you really want to do this thing, you got to put in work.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Dana Andrews. Again, we have our very special guest, Mr. Affion Crocket. He's been, dropping jewels on us, man. Very, very down-to-earth brother, very, very solid brother. So I just want to kind of fast forward a little bit, and I want to jump into Wildin' Out. Tell us about Wildin' Out in the first 4 seasons, which in my opinion, my humble opinion, were the best 4 seasons. I mean, tell me, what did that do for your career? Because you had some heavy hitters on there. And in my generation, that was our version of kind of a Whose Line Is It Anyway type of In Living Color, mixed with a game show, mixing the sketch, the improv. What did that do for your career, and how did those first 4 seasons?
Wildin' Out gave me a name. Simple as that. I mean, I did Def Comedy Jam years before, and some people knew who I was, but Wildin' Out gave me a name. Like, I walked through airports, malls, even to this day. Affion Crocket. That's Affion Crocket. So first and last name basis is what Wildin' Out did. And I was on there with my peers, with D-Ray, Cat, Corey Holcomb, Mikey Day, Randall Park. Like, Wildin' Out has created millionaires. It's created legends, and we're still fighting our way through and producing product individually. But it was a great class to be in, a great class of comedians, and yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Well, no doubt, great class comedian. That's an understatement. Like, again, I'm a more analytical thinker, so I go into my brain and I start looking. I look at this lineup of talent, man, that was on there. I liken it to like a XXL freshman magazine. You had Cat Williams, even Kevin Hart come through there. Like you said, Mikey Day, Corey Holcomb, yourself. So you got all this talent, man, yet you still managed to shine and still managed to thrive amongst all this talent. Was there a healthy competition going on? Because you had some heavy hitters.
Yeah, it was the competition was it was very healthy, but there was a lot of camaraderie too. Like, we supported each other on there, and if someone had a dope joke, we would support it, or we would tag onto it. Like, someone would run out and say something funny, and then we'd be like, yo, that was hilarious, and then we'll go and add on to the joke. But it was fun. It was like being in high school, man, comedic high school. And yeah, man, I don't know, we obviously we created something that's still here, and The new cast is taking it to another level, but
those first 4 seasons, man, that was golden. That was like,
no, for sure. They were legendary. I mean, and then also, the first 4 seasons, it was all comedians. Like we're comedians. Now it's rappers, it's, Instagram talent. So they're not always versed in the comedy, but they can, they're good at what they do. They're good at the rap stuff and all of that. So I think that's what made the first 4 seasons so impactful, is you saw comedians that had various backgrounds of stand-up and improv, but comedians going against rappers.
and the hunger was there, man.
Oh yeah, the hunger was there, but we were going against rappers like the Jim Jones and Kanye and Talib, and everybody came through, and it was ridiculous. Snoop.
Which is a little known fact, and motherfuckers see you do the Jay-Z impressions and all that, but they don't know you really spit like you.
Well, they're starting to know now. Yeah. After the BET cipher dropped. Yeah,
That caught a lot of attention, man.
Yeah, they starting to know now.
And not to mention, on that show, like you said, you named Talib Kweli, it was heavy hitters, Fat Joe, Jeezy. It was like top-notch people coming. Some of them battles, that was doper than some of the shit that you hear now. You know what I'm saying?
Redman,
Yeah, come on.
Meth came through. Like, yeah, we had some. It was dope. KRS came through. So yeah, Wildin' Out has definitely been a staple for comedy and hip hop fusion.
Wow. Yeah, so I think even with you, I wanted to kind of go into that, man. How did you segue that and parlay that back into Hollywood?
Relationships. There were people that would see Wildin' Out and they really took to me. They really were fans of mine, like Malcolm Lee, one of my big homies. I had auditioned for him for a commercial, and we ended up shooting a commercial, but he told me when I walked into the audition, he was like, man, I'm a huge fan of you from Wildin' Out. And I was like, oh, that's dope. So, I mean, now, Malcolm is going on to do Girls Trip and all these, other big movies, but we did Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins.
Hold on, pause, because you skipping over, because you got a huge catalog and body of work.
There's some things.
I did some homework on you, big homie, so.
There's some things.
How do you do that, man? That's what I'm more fascinated in, because I looked you up, I did my homework. You started off as thug number 1, attendant guy over here. You was in Charlie's Angels. People
Right.
I know that. You were in Charlie's Angels.
But that's what I'm saying. Wildin' Out exposed me to so many different people. So, yeah, I got to mainstream Hollywood through relationships. When I met the Wayanses, I had been studying them for so long that by the time we met, I knew their comedic rhythm. So I had to audition for them. And Sean and Marla was in the room, and I was locked into this character, and I was going hard, and they was laughing so hard, they was slapping the table. Sean threw a bottle of water at me because he just wanted me to stop because he was hurting laughing. But yeah, relationships. Once you work with somebody, and another dude, Jeremy Gerlich, the director of The Wedding Ringer, cool ass white dude. That's where we met. Jeremy's one of my dudes. I did a short film for him just on a favor tip. Me, Paula Patton, Dr. Ken Jeong, and Craig Robinson. Oh, wow. We did this short film for him, and from there I worked with him probably 7 times.
Because you got to remember, man, I live in LA. And people come from all around the world trying to make it in this small town with only maybe 100 or 200 jobs at any given time. Right. And so, I'm more fascinated how you defied the odds and were able to.
But that's the God factor for me. That's the God factor.
How big of a role does God play in your life?
I mean, I don't do anything without him. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just about, again, my spirit grounding, speaking my existence, speaking my world, speaking. Here's the thing, right? Regardless of what we believe, I'm not here to push Christianity, but I'm going to use an example from the Bible, just as however you want to take it, as a parable, as literal, whatever. In Genesis, God spoke the world into existence. If you read it, it says he called the birds of the air, and he spoke the mountains into existence. He brought the seas and the skies together. Like he did all these.
Was the word.
Say again?
In the beginning was the word.
It was word. It didn't say in the beginning it was work boots and gloves and overalls and helmets and soldering tools. He didn't use his hands. He didn't use his physical. He didn't use anything physical. He spoke the world that we see. He spoke it. So again, not pushing Christianity, but what I'm saying is, as a parable, even if you take it as that, there's a lesson in that story, which is your words have power. A lot of people walking around talking about that they sick and they tired and they this and that. You speak, everything you speak comes to manifestation. Words are building blocks. They actually come true. So you have to watch what you say. So I used to speak over myself what my destiny was going to be.
Well, cause here's the thing, man. If I line up 100 comedians that want to make it into the game, and if you try to tell them this is how you made it, they're gonna say, nah, that can't be it. I don't want to hear God. It got to be something you did. You had to find a genie and rub it 3 times. You had to sell your soul to the Illuminati. It had to be something else. You didn't just speak this into existence and boom, it just came. But you telling me, you the man, you lived in your shoes. This is how you manifest.
Everything that has happened until I sat in this chair today is because I spoke it into existence. And you got to remember, out of 100 comedians, it's probably 4 of them that are good.
Wow. And maybe 1 would make it, if he's going to make it. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. So we're going to go into the next segment. I appreciate that, man.
Sure.
Thanks for dropping jewels, man. Welcome back to Heart. I'm your host, Dana Andrews. And again, we have the very special and talented guest, Mr. Affion Crocket. Now, we went down your catalog, we went down, your start, how you got to where you are. Now, just kind of looking back, and as they say, hindsight is always 20/20. But kind of take us back to the younger Affion. Could you see yourself here, looking back? Did you envision yourself being, a huge star and making it in Hollywood? Could you see it?
It depends on what age. When I was a kid, I didn't see it. I just had, aspirations of something big. I didn't know what it was. And then, as a teen and, college years, I did see it. I just didn't know how I was going to get to it. But I could see it. I could see it early on.
Wow. Now, if you can go back and say anything to your younger self, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say get started early. Wow. I probably wouldn't have went to college.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, because college, if you really look at it, college is a racket. College is, it's an institution it's an institution of debt. It's the first, it's literally meant to start most Americans out in debt for the rest of their lives. They'll be paying back student loans for the rest of their lives. It's the first big loan you'll ever apply for, which they have no problem giving that shit. But then you try to go get a car loan or a home loan after your college loan, and it's damn near impossible.
Because you owe money right over here.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wow. So that's why you got to go apply for a job. You ever notice the system? They when you're about to graduate high school and college, they'll send people to come represent. It's called a job fair. I don't know if they still do that now, but when I was in school, they had this thing called job fair. So you can go garner the interest of different corporations or different fields of people that you're going to go work for. They don't have an entrepreneurial fair. They didn't have an entertainment fair. You know what I mean? Like A&Rs didn't come through, or other artists. They don't have that in school.
Well, I think even now, even with the schools and the art programs, I know with me and Edwin, we're strong advocates for pushing the art program in schools. Because in a lot of schools, they take it out. You don't have choir, band, drama class, and art class.
I was a part of that movement. I was taking guitar, and then next year they took it out. Wow. It was all done. So I had to find my own ways of creativity. But yeah, I probably wouldn't have went to college if I could talk to my younger self. Probably wouldn't have gone.
Interesting. Now, but again, everybody's not an Affion Crocket. Everybody's not going to make it. So I know you probably couldn't tell the next up-and-coming guy. Now, is there something that you feel like you need to have? Is there an X factor that you would tell the next guy coming up behind you and say, hey, either this is for you or...
Hands-on experience is priceless. I think, going to college, I'm not knocking it. Like for some, it can work, and you can graduate and you go get a high-paying job somewhere in some corporate office building, some big company. And that's cool, but everyone is not gonna make it there either. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to school for business, you should learn how an actual business is set up, how it's, and go the ownership route. I would say, learn it the lemonade stand route. Lemonade stand, you went to the store, you bought some lemonade, you probably spent, let's say you spent $12. You got the cups, you got the ingredients to make the lemonade, you got the lemons, you got the sugar, maybe you use pure water, so you bought bottles of water. You spent $12, right? Now you out here, you selling lemonade for $2 a cup. You sell 50 cups, you made way more than $12. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even Pac said that, man. We should have classes on entrepreneurship, but sadly we don't. Like even in his interview, in his documentary, we got classes on gym and stupid shit like that. Instead of teaching us, when I was going to high school, they didn't teach me how to balance a checkbook or how to open up a bank account or start a business and create a dollar. They just don't teach us these.
No, they don't teach that because they want more people working for the businesses. They want workers.
Wow.
And they want workers that are in debt.
Wow.
So you're working to pay off the debt.
So it's never.
So you're not really living your life. Most people ain't living their life. Like you gotta accumulate vacation days. Think about that shit. You gotta accumulate vacation days working for most companies. So by the time somebody want to go take a trip somewhere, you be like, oh man, I ain't got no vacation days. I used 2 of them last year. Like, what the fuck is that? I can take vacation whenever I feel like it. Right. So that's what I would tell my younger self is to really lock into that even earlier.
Wow. And I don't think people understand that freedom, just your time is priceless.
Your time, your health. That's why a lot of people have hypertension and ulcers because they're sitting in traffic every day going to a job they hate.
Now I'm gonna lighten it up and get on a lighter note a little bit. You've worked with some of the greats, some of the legends. Is there anybody in the game that you haven't yet collaborated with that you would like to work with in the future?
And Eddie Murphy. Will and Eddie, those are my 2, my list of the next guys that I want to work with.
Could you retire a happy man if you got those 2
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't retire, but I could. Yeah.
I know 2020 is going to be a big year for you. You got a lot of stuff coming out. You just did a movie with BET. Was it Towards the Chaos Before Christmas? What else do you got coming down the pipeline?
Stand-up special. Stand-up special is locked in. We're looking for a network right now, but I self-financed it. Shit looks incredible. It's called Mirror to Society.
Wow.
And it's me just holding up a mirror to society and myself and just saying, look, this is who the fuck we are.
Now, what's the difference between having a big budget or a studio back you when putting on a stand-up as opposed to being an entrepreneur and coming out your own pocket?
Way less ownership, way less control. Because if some studio backs you, their money is controlling the asset, the product.
As a comedian and artist, is that big for you, creative control? Over money?
100%.
What if somebody offered you $10 million but only 10% creative control?
It's different. If the deal makes sense, if someone's gonna offer me $10 million, depending on what the project is, right? But if you're gonna give me $10 million and you're gonna maintain control over, let's say a stand-up special, right? Nigga, I'm taking the 10 million.
All day and twice on Sunday.
Because I could pocket 500,000 just for my own personal use. And then I'm gonna take that other 9.5, I'm gonna buy some real estate here. I'm gonna invest in more projects. I'm gonna invest in some apps, or you know what I mean? Like
Do you prefer that route to fund yourself, or do you like having?
I like control, and look, at the end of the day, when you make a certain amount of money, the government is gonna take it anyway. You gotta pay so much fucking high percentages in taxes, especially in California. But if you're set up as a business, as a corporation, you have an allotment of what you can spend your money on in a business-related sense. So why not spend the money that I worked for on myself first, and then at the end of the year, once I pay my taxes, it's a write-off. We all heard what write-off is, but I don't think a lot of people really know what a write-off is. So a write-off is a business expense. So if your business is spending on flights, you have the business, right? You got to fly Edwin and yourself to Art Basel. You write that off. Don't fly, coach. Fly first class. It's a write-off. Because what you think you're saving in getting a deal on a ticket, what you think you're saving, you're going to end up getting taxed. It's showing as income at the end of the year on your taxes. And you're responsible for that. And then Uncle Sam is like, all right, pay me my money. So at the end of the year, now you looking back and say, man, we should have took a car service. You know what I mean?
Yo, he dropping jewels right now, man. The man is dropping some knowledge.
I'm talking about all legal shit. I'm just talking about the system. What you spend your money on, as long as you keep record of it, you'll look back and be like, well, damn, I could have splurged more. I could have sent my staff on vacation. I could have done
and that's how the
whatever.
play. That's how they play.
That's how the game is. And that's just basics. That's basic finance.
Yeah, it gets deeper when you get into corporations and holding companies and subsidiaries.
Yeah, that's something different. But I am a corporation, so that's how I operate my business, how I operate my money. Affion Crocket is a corporation.
Like Jigga, I'm a businessman. You're a businessman.
Yeah, business.
So even with that, let me segue into the rap, man, because a lot of people may not know you did Sway 5 Fingers of Death.
Yeah.
You did that. That's not a task to be taken lightly, man. How was that? Were you nervous? Because these is real hip hop music heads.
Nah, but me and Sway go way back, so he already knew. He knows that I could really go. That's the thing, like, everybody may not know that I can rhyme, but everybody who does is somebody that matters. Chino XL, Planet Asia. Me and Planet Asia got collaboration that's ridiculous. It's called What You Talking on one of his mixtapes.
Shout out to Planet Asia, hip hop.
Shout out to Planet Asia.
Hey, shout out to my boy C from C Arson too, man. Razkaz, man. West Coast hip hop.
I got to join on Razkaz, one of his albums. Yeah, I got to join on Razkaz album. I directed a Razkaz video, the Kanye video, where he's making fun of Kanye a little bit. I got collabs with Talib, Strong Arm Steady. Chino XL is one of my big homies. Shout out to Chino, lyricist extraordinaire.
The names you dropping right now, this ain't chopped liver either. These is like the heavyweights, top of the top.
Collab, West Coast Cam. I got a collab with Grandmaster Kaz.
Wow.
OG.
Wow.
Yeah, so Kango from UTFO. I got real collabs. A+, a lot of people don't remember A+, but A+ is a dope ass lyricist. My man Rain 910, he coming out of Fayetteville too. He's up and coming.
Shout out to Rain 910.
He up and coming. He's one of the nastiest. He's like I call him the Fayetteville Nas, and we both Nas fans. So, but to hear him spit, I'm like, yeah, this nigga got it.
Dope.
Yeah, he got it. So yeah, I got collabs with real MCs. So again, Sway saw me on stage with Red and Meth. Red and Meth brought me and D-Ray out, because D-Ray spits too, for real. Yeah, me and D-Ray got into a rap battle before on Wild 'N Out.
Man.
Behind the scenes, yeah, first season behind the scenes, me and D-Ray got into a battle. And I'll let him tell you how that went. But yeah, Sway knew. He saw us on stage and
Shots fired.
So there's no shots. That's love. That's my brother, man. But yeah, Sway, he already knew. So when I got on the show, and his producer's a good friend of mine, Kelly, and she asked me the night before, she said, "You want to do 5 Fingers?" I was like, "All right, throw it at me."
Wow.
Yeah. And so yeah, you saw how the interview was going. Like he kind of just sideswiped me and was talking about acting for a second, and then all of a sudden the music started. I was like, "Oh, this is what we doing? We doing it right now?"
Yeah, so, you got platinum artists that go on there and freeze up, man. The motherfuckers that say they rappers get on Sway and freeze the hell up, man. That's you gotta
know how to. You gotta always be ready, man.
That's right.
When the time is right.
Get ready.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So also, man, you dance, and you don't just dance. You dance. Can you kind of plug your crew, man? Because I just seen a video recently on IG.
I don't have a crew per se, but yeah, those are
who's that chick, man? Because she was.
Which one? She Street.
The one with the
She Street hair. And Yoey.
Okay.
Yeah. They were a group called the Council Women.
Okay.
But they're fucking aliens with that shit. And my man Cooley that directed it, my man Soup with the dreads. But I danced with a group called the Groovaloos too from back in the day.
Okay.
So.
Break dance.
Yeah, b-boy,
hopping, locking. Remember when brothers was taking the hats and folding the rims and doing the houses? Yeah, the house dancing.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. That's dope, man. Because I don't think a lot of people know that you really dance, man. Even
again, the people that know matter. Like anytime I'm in a club or a party and Chris Brown is there, he'll walk over to me and be like, "Yo, get in the circle, dog." Like he know, like that's my young homie. But yeah, we danced before. We've been in ciphers before. He came on my show. We did the Michael Jackson battle, so he know I'm a real dancer. But to get that nod from guys that I respect like him, like Chris is a fucking animal. That nigga could dance his ass off. So to get that nod and to know that they know that I can move, it's like, all right, I don't. The world don't need to know. As long as them niggas know, as long as Talib know I can rap, I don't care who know I can rap.
Yeah, fuck that. After that, it don't even matter.
Don't matter.
They don't get no better. That's the top of the food chain.
Nigga, Big Daddy Kane hit me.
Wow.
Kane hit me after he saw the BET cipher. He was like, he said it on my IG.
Not the smooth operator himself.
Dog, here I am, RAW, a terrorist, here to bring trouble to phony MCs. I move all MCs. Yo, like.
No cuss words.
Big Daddy Kane, bro.
Wow. So you getting acknowledged by legends. So at that point, it's like, why would I care what Lil Song?
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. He's the heavyweight.
Yeah, I got the OGs. So.
You know what, man? Hey, Affion, man, we thank you for being here, man. And as a guest on our show, we wouldn't have you come here, man, without gifting you something, man. So we're gonna take a little small break, and then we got a special gift for you, man.
All right, cool.
All right, no doubt. Yo, welcome back to Heart. I'm your host, Dana Andrews. And again, I told you before we left, we have the very special guest and very talented Mr. Affion Crocket. And as we always do on our show, we like to gift the talent, man, just to thank them for coming out. And today we have a painting done by the designer and artist, Mr. Edwin Baker III, and I'm gonna allow him to explain his painting and the jacket. Edwin?
All right, I did this jacket, Bronx theme, with Bruce Lee on the front. Did wanted to do graffiti style in the back. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, for request.
It's perfect, man, because I told Dana what my interests were and what my inspirations are, and I'm not from the Bronx at all, but the Bronx is the birthplace of hip hop. So for me, I gotta always pay homage because I wear that in my bones. And Beat Street was one of my favorite movies. So just to see the trains with the paint on them.
I was telling him actually, like it's one of mine too. Like you envision that white train.
Yeah. And then Bruce Lee is like a major impact on my life, man. Like. I was bullied as a kid growing up around the world in a military family, and I used to watch Bruce Lee movies, and I taught myself martial arts from watching Return of the Dragon. And I used to go just spar some of my friends that were already taking karate, and I would beat them because I just learned my rhythm from Bruce. And so, it was my first teacher of confidence and who I was, and so I got to pay a lot of homage to Bruce at all times.
And not to mention, man, we also got a Tommy Davidson moment. Bam!
Young Ed.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy. Delirious again. Ed is the GOAT, and we just had that conversation. But to have, this is amazing. Like Delirious is one of those first moments of comedy that I took in as a little kid, and was like, man, I want to be like that guy. I didn't know, that I was going to be a stand-up comedian. I just wanted to be like him because he was funny, he was famous, and so that's dope, man. Appreciate you. That's love. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's crazy.
We just want to thank you, man, and we want to gift you with this, man, as just a token of our appreciation.
Man, that's love. I appreciate it. And you just painted this while we was talking.
Yeah. Just slap this up for you, bro. I'm glad you like it, man.
Just like Eddie was an inspiration to you, man, you were an inspiration to us, whether you know it or not, man. You got little homies watching you, little bros watching you. We looking up to you.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. Look, I'm humble, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm humble, but I'm gonna steal this.
Outro. Hey, man, I just want to say thank you, man, to my brother, man, Mr. Affion Crocket, man. Again, man, I feel like this was more than just a business relationship. Like I said, man, you've been constant communication. This brother's been solid, man. He didn't just do the Hollywood thing. The brother's,